For centuries, humanity had been patient. After their discovery by the Galactic Conclave, humans were classified as Deathworlders, dangerous creatures born on a harsh planet. Despite proving themselves helpful and smart, they were always denied full membership in galactic society. John Harrison, Earth's ambassador to the Conclave, sat stiffly in the Grand Chamber as yet another request for full membership was being discussed. The tall, blue-skinned Xerillian representative spoke with a voice that sounded both musical and mocking. While we value the enthusiasm of our human friends, we must once again deny their request for full membership status. Their natural tendency toward violence makes them unsafe for unlimited travel rights. Ambassador Harrison kept his face calm, but Captain Lisa Morgan of the Earth Defense Force, standing next to him, gripped her datapad so hard her knuckles turned white. They had given clear proof of humanity's peaceful goals, scientific help, and friendly efforts over the past 70 years. The worst part came when the Conclave voted to limit human growth to just 3 new star systems, while at the same time giving the aggressive Traxian Empire permission for 17 new territories, including 2 systems humans had been studying for decades. As they boarded their shuttle to return to Earth, Harrison got an urgent message. A human science base in the Proxima system had been attacked by Traxian forces. Everyone there was dead. "They're testing us," Lisa said quietly. "They think we'll just accept it." Again, Harrison's face hardened. "Send a message to Earth Command. It's time for Operation Enough." The message reached Earth in hours. In the large underground war room of Earth Command, General Frank Miller reviewed the final reports of the Proxima attack. 26 scientists and their families killed. The outpost burned to the ground. The Traxians hadn't even tried to hide their involvement. They had left their empire's symbol drawn in the ashes. "They're getting bolder," said Admiral Ben Russell, looking at the grim images. "The Conclave has basically given them permission to hunt us." Miller nodded. "The President is meeting with the Joint Chiefs now, but I think we all know what's coming." Outside the secure room, Earth went about its business as usual. People walked in parks, attended schools, and worked in offices, unaware that everything was about to change. For decades, humanity had hidden its true strength from the galactic community. Today, that would end. At the White House, President Laura Conway sat at the head of a long table surrounded by military and civilian leaders. Her usual warm smile was gone, replaced by a look of cold determination. "The Proxima attack was recorded," she said. "Our hidden sensors captured everything." She nodded to her aide, who started the projection. The room watched in silence as Traxian warships descended on the small human outpost. The scientists tried to surrender. The Traxians ignored them. They knew exactly what they were doing. The President continued after the recording ended. "This wasn't a mistake or a rogue commander. This was approved at the highest levels of the Traxian Empire, with the implicit backing of the Conclave." Secretary of Defense Doug Peterson spoke up. "Madam President, Operation Enough is ready. We've been preparing for 70 years. Our ships are in position. The suppression field generators are online. We can move as soon as you give the order." Conway looked around the table. "Let's be clear about what this means. Once we activate the suppression fields and reveal our true military capacity, there's no going back. The Conclave will know we've been deceiving them. They'll know we're not the simple compliant species they thought we were." "With all due respect, Madam President," Admiral Russell said, "they've been deceiving themselves. We tried honesty for decades. We showed them our art, our music, our literature. We shared our medical advances and helped with disasters across 3 sectors, and they still treat us like animals." Conway nodded. "You're right, but I want minimal bloodshed. This is a demonstration, not a war of conquest. Is that understood?" Everyone around the table nodded. "Very well." The President stood up. "As of this moment, I am authorizing Operation Enough. May God have mercy on anyone who has mistaken our patience for weakness. In space, hidden throughout human territory and beyond, 500 warships received their orders. These weren't the small, Patrol vessels the Conclave had permitted humans to build. These were true warships, constructed in secret over decades. Armed with weapons that could reduce planets to ash, Captain Sam Lewis sat in the command chair of the EDF Relentless, one of humanity's newest destroyers. Officially, his ship didn't exist. It had been built in pieces in hidden facilities throughout the solar system, then assembled in the shadow of Neptune. "All systems ready, Captain," his first officer reported. "Operation Enough is green across the board." Lewis nodded. "Activate the QDD drive. Set course for the Traxian home system." The quantum displacement drive was humanity's greatest secret. While the rest of the galaxy used standard FTL technology closely controlled by the Conclave, humans had developed something far more advanced. The QDD allowed them to travel faster, more efficiently, and most importantly, undetected by standard Conclave sensors. As the Relentless and dozens of other ships jumped toward Traxian space, Lewis thought about the scientists who died at Proxima. He had friends there, good people who believed in peaceful cooperation with alien species. People who never imagined that their own deaths would be the catalyst for humanity's greatest gambit. On Earth, President Conway prepared to address the planet and its colonies. Her speech was brief but powerful. "For 70 years we have offered friendship to the galactic community. We have shared our knowledge, our art, our music. We have followed their rules and shown our desire for peace. And for 70 years we have been treated as dangerous animals to be controlled." Her voice grew stronger. "No more. The attack on our people at Proxima wasn't just an act of war against humans. It showed what we've long suspected. The Conclave sees us as expendable. Today we show them their mistake." Throughout human space, people gathered around screens to watch as Operation Enough began. The time for playing nice was over. The Deathworlders were about to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. The Galactic Conclave prided itself on its advanced monitoring systems, but they failed to notice the massive movement happening throughout human space. For decades, humanity had been building, planning, and preparing, all while pretending to comply with the rules. Admiral Alan Foster stood on the bridge of the EDF Intrepid, Earth's newest and most powerful warship. Officially, it was listed as a heavy research vessel. Unofficially, it carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. "All ships reporting ready, Admiral," said Commander Susan Wells, his second in command. "Operation Enough is green across the board." The human fleet had been scattered throughout their limited territory, carefully hidden from watching eyes. Now, in perfect timing, 500 warships came out of hiding. The surprise was complete. Foster looked at the main screen, showing the Traxian battle group that had attacked the Proxima outpost. They were moving toward another human settlement, unaware of what was coming. "Open a channel," Foster ordered. His face appeared on the screens of every Traxian ship. "Attention Traxian vessels. This is Admiral Foster of the Earth Defense Force. You have attacked and killed human civilians. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded." The Traxian commander, a tall reptilian creature named Drax, laughed at the transmission. "Human, you have one small ship, we have 15. Run away while you still can." Foster smiled thinly. "Look again." At that moment, the rest of Foster's battle group dropped their cloaking fields. 20 human warships surrounded the Traxian force. Before Drax could respond, his ship rocked violently. Warning alarms blared as his engines shut down. "What's happening?" he demanded. His science officer looked up in fear. "Some kind of energy field. It's shutting down all our systems except life support." Across the galaxy, the same scene played out as human ships appeared near key Conclave worlds. Not firing weapons, just appearing. On the Conclave homeworld of Shirilla, the emergency alarm sounded for the first time in 300 years. The High Council members rushed to the secure chamber deep beneath the Grand Meeting Hall. "Report," demanded High Counselor Farine. The security chief's voice shook. "Human ships. Hundreds of them. They've appeared in orbit around every major world in Conclave space." "Impossible," said another counselor. "Their technology isn't advanced enough." "Apparently it is," Farine replied coldly. "What are they doing?" "Nothing. They're just waiting. In the council chambers above, Ambassador Harrison walked calmly through the doors, flanked by 4 human soldiers in combat armor. The few conclave representatives present stared in shock. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded the Cerulean representative who had spoken against humanity earlier that day. Harrison smiled. "I'm here to continue our discussion about humanity's place in the galaxy. I believe you'll find my arguments more compelling now." On Earth, Dr. William Phillips nervously watched the screens in Earth Command's control center. As the creator of the quantum displacement drive, he had given humanity its greatest advantage. What the Conclave didn't know was that he had also created something else, something that would change everything. "The suppression fields are ready," he explained to General Miller. "Once activated, any ship using standard Conclave drive technology within range will instantly drop from faster-than-light travel. Only our QDD-equipped vessels will be unaffected." Miller nodded. "Activate the network." Throughout human space and beyond, hidden satellites blinked to life. On the Traxian homeworld, Emperor Zorg was shouting at his military commanders when all the lights in the palace suddenly dimmed. Outside, ships fell from the sky as their engines failed, landing safely but unable to move. Similar scenes unfolded across Conclave space. Commerce stopped. Military operations halted. Transportation systems froze. Only human vessels remained, fully operational. Back on the Conclave homeworld, Harrison stood before a hastily assembled emergency session of the full council. "Esteemed representatives," he announced to the stunned assembly, "humanity has endured your prejudice and restrictions long enough. The attack on our Proxima outpost was the final provocation. As we speak, human forces have contained the Traxian fleet that committed this crime." Holographic displays activated around the chamber, showing human warships in position throughout Conclave space. "We could have chosen destruction," Harrison continued. "But despite what you believe about our species, we prefer talking to killing." On his signal, Dr. Phillips activated the full suppression field network. Across the galaxy, thousands of ships using standard Conclave drive technology suddenly stopped working. Only human vessels kept moving. "You now have a choice," Harrison said calmly. "Accept humanity as equals and fix the wrongs done against us, or find out exactly why evolution on Earth produced such effective survivors." High Counselor Vereen stood slowly. "This is an act of war." Harrison shook his head. "No. The act of war was the murder of 26 human scientists and their families on Proxima. This is a demonstration." "A demonstration of what?" "Another," Counselor asked. "That the Conclave needs humanity more than humanity needs the Conclave." Captain Lisa Morgan, who stood behind Harrison, stepped forward with a data crystal. "This contains evidence that the Traxian attack was known to certain members of this council beforehand. We also have proof that several Conclave species have been secretly breaking the technology-sharing rules you claim to follow so strictly." The chamber erupted in angry shouts and denials. Harrison raised his hand for silence. "We're not interested in blame or revenge. We want reform. For 70 years we have shown you our best. Our art, our science, our willingness to help. You chose to see only our capacity for violence. Very well. Now you've seen that too." He gestured to the screens showing human ships in position across Conclave space. "Not one shot has been fired, not one life has been taken. Even now, when we could demand anything, we choose restraint." The representatives looked at each other uneasily. Their entire civilization had been brought to a standstill in less than an hour by a species they had dismissed as barely civilized. "What do you want?" Vereen finally asked. Harrison smiled. "A seat at the table. A real one this time." As Harrison spoke in the Conclave chamber, President Conway addressed the humans throughout Earth and its colonies. "Today we have shown the galaxy our strength. But strength without wisdom is just brutality. We will not become what they feared we were. We will show them a better way." On ships throughout Conclave space, human captains waited for orders, ready, to maintain their positions for as long as necessary. The Deathworlders had stopped playing nice, but they hadn't stopped being human. The next 3 days were tense across the galaxy. Human ships remained in position, their weapons ready but not firing. The suppression field stayed active, keeping all non-human ships grounded. The Conclave leadership met in emergency sessions that lasted through the night. On the fourth day, High Counselor Vereen called for Ambassador Harrison to attend a special meeting. Harrison arrived with Captain Lisa Morgan and 2 other human officers. They were led into the Grand Chamber where all 57 members of the Conclave Council waited. "Ambassador," Vereen said, "we have discussed your demonstration at length. The Council has reached a decision." Harrison nodded politely but said nothing. "We will grant humanity full membership in the Conclave," Vereen continued. "Equal rights and privileges will be extended to all human colonies." Harrison smiled slightly. "And the other matters?" Vereen looked uncomfortable. "The Traxian Empire has agreed to pay for the damage at Proxima. Those directly responsible for the attack will face justice." "And those who knew about it beforehand?" Morgan asked sharply. A murmur ran through the council. Harrison held up his hand to quiet Morgan. "What my colleague means is that reform must be complete. We have evidence that certain council members were aware of Traxian plans. Those allegations will be investigated," Vereen said carefully. "But surely now you can end this demonstration, remove your ships and deactivate the suppression field?" Harrison shook his head. "Not yet, there's more to discuss." Back on Earth, President Conway met with her advisors. Dr. Phillips had just finished explaining his latest findings. "The technology the Conclave controls isn't what they claim," he said. "Our analysis shows they've been holding back advances for centuries. The standard drive technology they allow member worlds to use is at least 300 years behind what the core worlds actually have." Conway frowned. "So they've been keeping the outer worlds dependent?" "Exactly," Phillips nodded. "They maintain power by controlling technology. It's why they were so threatened by our QDD drive. It breaks their monopoly." The president thought for a moment. "Upload all our drive specifications to Ambassador Harrison. It's time to change the game completely." In the Traxian throne room, Emperor Zorg raged at his advisors. "Find a way to break this human blockade. They're making us look weak." "His science," Minister trembled. "The human technology is unlike anything we've seen. Their suppression field somehow targets only the frequency range used by standard Conclave drives." "What about our secret drives?" Zorg demanded. "The ones the core worlds provided us?" "Also affected. Whatever the humans have created, it's beyond even what the core worlds possess." Zorg slammed his fist on his throne. "Impossible. They're animals. From a death world. How could they surpass the oldest civilizations in the galaxy?" "Perhaps," the minister said carefully. "That's exactly why they could. Life on Earth is harsh. It forces adaptation and innovation." On the human ship Intrepid, Admiral Foster received new orders from Earth Command. He gathered his senior officers. "We're moving to Phase 2, he told them. "Prepare to deploy the knowledge packages to all secondary worlds." His communications officer looked surprised. "Sir, we're giving them our technology?" Foster nodded. "Not the weapons, but the drive systems, the medical advances, the agricultural improvements. Everything the core worlds have been keeping from them." In the conclave chamber, Harrison activated a holographic display showing a complex design. "This is the quantum displacement drive," he explained to the stunned council. "The technology that allowed our ships to bypass your detection systems. As we speak, the specifications are being transmitted to every world in conclave space." "You can't do that," shouted a representative from one of the core worlds. "Technology must be controlled." Harrison smiled. "Why? So you can maintain your advantage? That ends today." He turned to address the entire council. "Humanity doesn't want to rule the conclave. We want to reform it. For too long you've maintained a system where advanced worlds exploit developing ones, where species are judged not by their actions but by their biology." Morgan stepped forward with another data crystal. "This contains proof that the core worlds have systematically violated the conclave's own technology sharing laws for over 500 years. The chamber erupted in shouts and arguments. Representatives from newer member worlds looked shocked as they realized how they had been manipulated. Vereen called for order. When the noise died down, she turned to Harrison. "What do you propose?" "New conclave charter," Harrison said. "One that actually follows the principles you claim to uphold. Equal rights for all member species, true technology sharing, an end to the classification of worlds based on their gravity or atmospheric conditions." As Harrison spoke in the conclave chamber, the effects of humanity's actions were already spreading across the galaxy. On dozens of worlds, people watched, in amazement as human ships delivered packages of advanced technology directly to their governments, bypassing the usual conclave channels. On the agricultural world of Nelva, farmers stared in wonder at new seed varieties that could grow in their harsh soil. On the water world of Aquara, engineers studied designs for underwater cities that could withstand their planet's massive tides. Captain Sam Lewis of the EDF Relentless supervised the delivery of medical technology to a small colony on the edge of conclave space. "Why are you helping us?" asked the colony leader, a fuzzy creature with 6 limbs. "We have nothing to offer in return." Lewis smiled. "That's not how humans think. We believe that helping others helps everyone, including ourselves." The colony leader looked confused. "But you're Deathworlders. You're supposed to be selfish and violent." "We can be," Lewis admitted. "When we need to be. But we survived on Earth not just by being strong, but by working together, by helping each other." In the conclave chamber, the debate had gone on for hours. Finally, Vereen called for a vote on Harrison's proposal for a new charter. Those in favor of reforming the conclave according to the human proposal, one by one, representatives raised their hands or tentacles or light sticks. The core worlds voted against it, but they were outnumbered by the many secondary worlds who had suffered under the old system. "The motion passes," Vereen announced. "The conclave will be reformed." Harrison bowed slightly. "Then humanity accepts full membership in the new galactic conclave. The suppression field will be deactivated within 24 hours. As Harrison and Morgan left the chamber, a young aide from one of the outer worlds approached them. "Is it true?" the aide asked. "That humans will share all their knowledge freely?" Morgan nodded. "Knowledge grows when it's shared. That's something we learned the hard way on Earth." The aide looked confused. "But won't that reduce your advantage?" Harrison smiled. "Our advantage was never just our technology. It was our willingness to use it when necessary, and our desire to find better solutions. The galaxy is about to learn that the most dangerous thing about Deathworlders isn't our strength or our weapons." "What is it then?" the aide asked. "Our hope," Harrison replied. "Even after centuries of war and struggle on our own world, we never stopped believing things could be better. That's what makes us dangerous. And that's what will make the galaxy better for everyone." 1 month after what became known as the human demonstration, the galaxy was changing faster than anyone had expected. The suppression field had been turned off as promised, but its effects lived on. The old power structure of the conclave was breaking apart. In a small meeting room on the conclave homeworld, Ambassador Harrison met with representatives from 20 different species. These were not the powerful core worlds, but the secondary, members who had been kept dependent for centuries. "The human technology is working perfectly," said the representative from Nelva, a world known for its harsh farming conditions. "Our food production has increased by 40% already." Similar reports came from all around the table. Medical advances were saving lives. New energy systems were bringing power to poor regions. Communication networks were connecting isolated communities. Harrison listened with satisfaction. This was what Earth had hoped for. Not just a better deal for humans, but a better galaxy for everyone. Not everyone was happy with the changes. The core worlds that had controlled the conclave for centuries were losing their special status. Some were threatening to leave the alliance completely. The Traxian Empire was in turmoil. Emperor Zorg had been removed from power by his own military after the truth about the Proxima attack became public. The new Traxian government was desperately trying to repair relations with humanity. On Earth, President Conway addressed the United Nations. For too long, We believed that our place in the galaxy would be determined by how well we could hide our strength. We were wrong. Our place will be determined by how wisely we use it." She paused, looking around at the representatives from every nation on Earth. "We have an opportunity now to help build a better galactic community. Not one based on fear and control, but on cooperation and respect. This is humanity's true strength, not our weapons or our technology, but our vision of what is possible." The speech was broadcast throughout human space. On colonies and outposts, people cheered. After decades of being treated as second-class citizens of the galaxy, humans were finally taking their rightful place. But not all the news was good. Dr. Phillips had discovered something concerning in his analysis of core world technology. "They're developing countermeasures to our suppression field," he told Admiral Foster during a secure briefing. "It won't work immediately, but given time, they could neutralize our advantage." Foster frowned. "How long do we have?" "A year, maybe less." Foster considered this. "We need to make these changes permanent before they can regain their edge. The new conclave has to become strong enough to stand on its own." On the conclave homeworld, Captain Lisa Morgan walked through the newly reorganized Conclave Academy. For centuries, this institution had trained only the elite from core worlds. Now it was open to students from all member species. Morgan watched as young humans trained alongside beings from dozens of different worlds. A girl from Earth was explaining Earth mathematics to a group of fascinated aliens. A boy was learning about underwater architecture from a student from Aquara. The Academy's director, an elderly Xerillian named Toral, approached Morgan. "I was against this," Toral admitted. "I believed the old stories about Deathworlders, that you were too violent, too unpredictable to be trusted with advanced knowledge." Morgan smiled. "And now?" "Now I see that the very conditions that made Earth harsh also made humans adaptable. You find solutions where we see only problems." Their conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. Morgan's communicator beeped. "Urgently." "Captain Morgan, please report to the conclave chamber immediately," a voice said. When Morgan arrived, she found Harrison already there, along with representatives from most member worlds. The chamber was tense. High Counselor Vereen looked worried. "We've received a disturbing message from beyond the galactic rim. A probe we sent out 500 years ago has returned with data about a hostile species heading toward conclave space." Harrison frowned. "How hostile?" Vereen activated a holographic display showing recordings from the probe. Everyone watched, in silence, as an unknown alien fleet destroyed an entire solar system. Not just attacked, completely destroyed. Planets were shattered. The sun itself was extinguished. "They call themselves the Harvesters," Vereen said. "They move from galaxy to galaxy, taking what they need and destroying everything else. According to the probe's data, they will reach our borders within 3 years." The chamber erupted in fearful discussion. Many representatives called for immediate evacuation of outer worlds. Others demanded that the core worlds share their most powerful weapons. Harrison watched the chaos with concern. After a few minutes, he stepped forward and asked to speak. "The old conclave would have faced this threat divided and weakened," he said, when the room quieted. "The core worlds would have protected themselves while sacrificing the outer systems. Is that the future we want?" Silence fell over the chamber. "Humanity faced extinction many times in our history," Harrison continued. "We survived because we learned to work together despite our differences. This is the lesson we wanted to share with the galaxy." He turned to Vereen. "Earth will stand with the conclave against this threat. All our resources, all our technology, all our strength will be committed to the defense of all worlds, not just our own." Vereen looked surprised. "Even after how we treated you?" Harrison smiled. "Especially after that. We want to prove that Deathworlders aren't just good at destroying. We're even better at protecting what matters." Over the next weeks, a new plan emerged. For the first time, the entire conclave would work together as true equals. The core worlds would share their oldest and most powerful technologies. The secondary worlds would contribute their unique strengths and resources, and humanity would coordinate the defense. Dr. Phillips was asked to lead a new conclave science division dedicated to developing weapons and shields against the Harvesters. They've never faced a unified galaxy, Phillips told his new team of scientists from a dozen different worlds. And they've certainly never faced humans. A young scientist from one of the outer worlds looked nervous. But they've destroyed entire solar systems. How can we possibly stop them? Phillips smiled. On Earth we have a saying, the most dangerous animal is one protecting its home. This galaxy is our home now, all of us, and we will protect it. As the new defense plan spread across conclave space, a change came over the galaxy. Old rivalries began to fade in the face of the common threat. Species that had distrusted each other for centuries now worked side by side. At the heart of this new unity stood humanity, the Deathworlders who had stopped playing nice just in time to save everyone. 3 years passed quickly as the galaxy prepared for the Harvester invasion. The reformed conclave worked with a unity and purpose that would have been unimaginable before humanity's demonstration. Dr. Phillips stood in the massive new defense control center built on a previously uninhabited moon at the edge of conclave space. Around him, scientists and military personnel from 50 different species worked together, monitoring the approaching threat. They've entered the outer rim, reported a sensor technician. 7 massive ships, just as the probe data showed. Phillips nodded. Alert all defense stations, begin evacuation of the border systems. The plan they had developed was complex but elegant. Instead of trying to match the Harvester's destructive power head-on, they would use humanity's greatest strength, adaptability. On Earth, President Conway met with the Joint Chiefs in the underground war room. The mood was tense but determined. The first line of defense is holding, General Miller reported. The automated systems are performing exactly as Dr. Phillips designed them. Conway nodded. And the Harvester response? Confusion, as we hoped. They've never encountered this type of defense before. In space, the first battle was already underway. The Harvesters had expected to find isolated, vulnerable worlds they could easily destroy. Instead, they encountered a web of interconnected defense platforms using technology from dozens of different species, coordinated by human tactical systems. Admiral Foster watched from the bridge of the flagship Defender as the Harvester ships tried to penetrate the first defensive line. They're testing our capabilities, he told his officers. Just as we expected. On the main screen, they could see the massive Harvester vessels, each one larger than a small moon. The ships fired energy weapons that could crack planets, but the conclave defenses absorbed or deflected the attacks using a combination of technologies that no single species could have developed alone. Back at the conclave headquarters, Ambassador Harrison and Captain Morgan briefed the High Council on the battle's progress. Phase 1 is complete, Harrison reported. The Harvesters have committed their main force against our first defensive line. Morgan activated a holographic display showing the enemy fleet. They haven't yet realized it's a trap. High Counselor Vereen looked concerned. And if they do realize it? Then we move to Phase 2 early, Harrison replied calmly. The Harvester commander, a being of pure energy contained within an armored shell, was growing frustrated. These primitives were not behaving like previous victims. Their defenses were too coordinated, too adaptive. Increase power to the main cannons, the commander ordered. Destroy everything in our path. The Harvester ships surged forward, unleashing their full destructive potential. Several defense platforms were vaporized instantly, but they had served their purpose. They've taken the bait, Foster reported from the Defender. All ships, prepare for Phase 2. Throughout the defense network, human officers gave the signal. Hidden within the debris of the destroyed platforms were thousands of tiny devices developed by Dr. Phillips. As the Harvester fleet passed through the wreckage, the devices attached themselves to the giant ships. Phillips watched the data stream into the control center. Active scanning of the Harvester ships has begun, he announced. We're learning their weaknesses with every second. For centuries, the Harvesters had relied on overwhelming force. No species had ever survived long enough to study their technology or find their vulnerabilities. But now, as they pushed deeper, into conclave space. They were unwittingly providing all the information needed to defeat them. On the third day of the battle, the harvesters reached what they believed was an inhabited system. In reality, it was an elaborate trap. As their ships moved to destroy the fake settlements, Foster gave the order. All fleet elements execute Operation Turnabout. Across the system, 200 conclave warships dropped their cloaking fields. But instead of attacking directly, they activated the devices that had been gathering data for 3 days. Inside the harvester ships, systems began to fail. Weapons powered down. Shields flickered and died. The energy beings that controlled the vessels found themselves trapped as their interface systems stopped responding. It worked, Philip said with relief as the data confirmed their success. We've disabled their control systems. With the harvester fleet neutralized, the real work began. Teams of scientists and engineers from across the conclave boarded the massive ships to study the technology that had terrorized galaxies for millennia. What they found was surprising. The harvesters weren't simply destroyers. They were collectors. They preserved samples of every civilization they encountered before destroying the rest. Their ships contained vast libraries of knowledge and technology from thousands of extinct species. 6 months after the battle, Ambassador Harrison addressed the full conclave assembly. The threat has been contained, he announced. The harvester ships have been completely disabled and their commanders have been placed in secure containment. More importantly, we have begun to access their knowledge archives. A murmur of excitement ran through the assembly. The harvesters have visited 12 galaxies over millions of years. They have collected the knowledge of over 10,000 civilizations. This knowledge now belongs to all of us. Harrison paused, looking around the chamber at representatives from hundreds of worlds. 3 years ago, humanity forced its way into the conclave by demonstrating our strength. Some called it aggression. We called it necessary. Today, I believe history has proven us right. Had we not united the galaxy, had we not shared our technologies and combined our strengths, the harvesters would have destroyed us all, one by one. High Counselor Vereen stepped forward. The conclave acknowledges this truth. What the old council feared most about humans, your adaptability, your fighting spirit, your unwillingness to accept limits, these are precisely the qualities that saved us all. She activated a holographic display showing the new conclave emblem. At its center was an image of Earth. From this day forward, this date will be celebrated throughout conclave space as Unity Day, the day we remember that our differences make us stronger when we work together. As the assembly cheered, Harrison looked at Morgan. Not bad for a bunch of Deathworlders, she said with a smile. Harrison nodded. It turns out the galaxy needed exactly what it feared most. Throughout conclave space, the story spread of how humanity's refusal to be marginalized had inadvertently prepared the galaxy for its greatest threat. Species that had once feared humans now sought their friendship and advice. And in schools on 1,000 worlds, children learned about the day. The Deathworlders stopped playing nice and in doing so saved everyone.